fiat currency is so anti-Christian. It breaks two commandments like right out of the bat. Thou shalt not steal. That's the built-in policy. Thou shalt not bear false witness. That's what they do when they tell you it's good. When they tell you we need to have inflation, that's like historical evidence says that inflation is bad, but they own mass media. So the narrative is that 99% believe that, oh no, it's good. Bro, we got to print money.
We want to thank our sponsor. This show is brought to you by Bitcoin Trading Cards, an orange pill in a pack, making talking about things that normally make you want to cry fun and easy. The scarcest cards on the entire planet. Available now.
We have a real treat for you today. We have a playable character, a very humorous playable character today, and a sea of non-playable characters in a world where critical thinking, really thinking in general, is all but minimized and kind of looked down upon, to be totally honest with you. Mr. Anders Jensen is not one of those people. He is not apathetic. He is not indifferent. He is a man on fire. And we talk about that very fire in this episode. We talk about his rebirth in Christ and rebirth in Bitcoin over the last number of years of his life, his story coming to really both of those worlds and coming to being orange-pilled and finding really truth and objectivity. We talk about Zach, the village idiot. We've talked about submitting to truth, accepting the truth, and denying truth. Those are the three things. And Anders is a man that is ready to submit to the truth and let everyone know about it. We talk about the importance of orange pilling people. We talk about the importance of humor as well. We talk about unconfiscatable conferences, and we talk about one of the biggest things, which is the fiat currencies that the governments shell out, backed by nothing, are breaking multiple biblical commandments by their very existence, and most people have literally no idea. I can't wait for you to see this episode. Please share it out. The algorithm hates truth. I give to you Anders Jensen. Enjoy.
Okay, so we're starting from here, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go. Mr. Anders Jensen. Let's go. Thank you. Thank you. Anders won't let me put the last 10 minutes of the green room in, unfortunately. He was going off the deep end, so we're not going to put any of that in. But F it. We're doing it live. I already told him we were doing it live, but man, is it good to see you. Thank you for coming on, brother. Really appreciate it. I always appreciate our locker room time together, even though it's not actually in a locker room, but we act like we're in a locker room whenever we see each other. So I appreciate you being here, brother.
No, man. Thanks for having me up, Brandon. I think you're a guy that always makes people feel good when they're around you. Every single time I talk with you, I have the best time. So, I mean, either you're incredibly skilled, or you're an incredibly good person, or maybe you're both.
Hey, I'll take the compliment. It takes what they gives me, as we used to say back in the day. I takes what they gives me. So I really appreciate you saying that. I think it's I'm actually introverted. So like most people think I'm extroverted, but I'm actually introverted. And I think maybe that's partly why. It's just because I have to adapt to like, oh, we're at a conference or we're hanging out or people are hanging out. So it's me maybe seemingly kind of quiet, like introverted, but like, becoming extroverted or adapting to the situation. So it's like I have a mixture of both, and maybe that's why. I don't know. But I appreciate you saying that, brother. It's I always have so much fun with you, and it's just a riot. And the jokes that we're saying that most people just don't know what's going on, and we're just slapsticking and slap happy. I don't know. So that's what you do to people, though. You know how to make people laugh. No matter where I see you at, you know how to make people laugh, and they're always laughing, which is, man, it's a beautiful sight to see. We need more of that in the world. So now that we've successfully sat here in a circle and told each other how great we are.
Yeah.
What
I'm just laughing at myself that like when you first turned it on, it says recording, like accept recording, you understand this, yes. And I'm right back in, like, from when we started doing YouTube, thinking, all right, we got a green room, and then later we go live. But you're recording and then you put it out after potentially editing anything that I say, which is wrong, out. So I'm totally knocked off here. I was coming in strong. Now I'm like, I can't believe I just did that. Anyway, so thank you for not putting that out, Brandon.
Well, fortunately, we're not
Um,
actually live.
yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. I get it. So, yeah, where do you
So first, there's many things. Some Christianity in the Bitcoin, stuff like that. Talk about Vegas, unconfiscatable, and just the conferences in general, Toxic Happy Hour, the Pleb Party, some of the stuff you guys have done, but also some of the things, the bigger things actually you're going to be doing here going forward. But the YouTube, etc. Like we can get into some of that stuff. But first, I wanted to touch on your orange pilling story because, like we were saying beforehand, I think it's so important. People are moved emotionally. That's how we are. We have to shift people's context. Like Robert Kiyosaki is literally famous for 30 years and number one personal finance book of all time, really because he shifts people's context and tells stories. That's all he does. He tells the same like 5 stories over and over and over and over again,
uh-huh.
millions and millions of times. He doesn't tell you what to do. He doesn't tell you how to do it. He's just shifting people's context and telling stories. And I think that's what Bitcoiners we tend to forget in a lot of sales. We just forget to, hey, we got to move people emotionally. Where are we trying to get to? Not like the X's and O's, not here's the cold card, here's the lightning network. We have to move them emotionally. So, what was your story? How did you get into your origin story, your epiphany story, that your moments where you're like, wow, like I get Bitcoin, your orange pilling journey? What did that look like?
Sure. And by the way, first of all, thank you for having me, Brandon, on your YouTube channel. I'm very happy to be here. Um, so my story, I actually didn't find Bitcoin on because of number go up technology. I always cared about money since I was like a little boy. I bought my first stock when I was 12 years old. My mom got she got worried. She asked my dad, like, should we allow him to do this, like start spending money in the stock market at the age of 12? And he's like, yeah, let him roll with it. Um, and it did work out so that I made, I can't remember, like 10-20% like in 2 months, and then I sold it. Back then, a stock in my days, Brandon, you won't know this, but in my days, a stock was a piece of paper, a certificate that you got from the bank. You bought it, you got it from the bank. That was your stock. You had it in your hand, so you could literally trade it with someone else. And the dividends was something like you cut it out at the bottom, like glorious, glorious days. So already always cared about
I didn't know you were
money.
75 years old. You
All
don't look
right.
75.
Well,
You look
I
great.
work. I work out. It keeps you young. You've seen me. I work out. I'm
You
kidding.
do look good.
Thank you. Yeah, for 75, I'm going strong. No, so I think I probably didn't completely know inside, like I wasn't conscious about it, but for me, it was about financial freedom. I think from the beginning, I had a strong drive towards um, not having an overlord, except the Lord, which I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have in my life at the time. But you know what I mean? Like not having someone to boss me around who had power over me. I don't like that. I'm too much, sovereign individual by nature. So what happened was, well, I studied, like economics was my favorite topic in high school. I took it on. I went to high school in Australia. I chose to have it on higher level, and the school there was advising my parents it's probably not a good idea because like the other kids, unlike in Denmark where we didn't have economics in school, they had economics for years prior to year 11 and 12, which was high school, right? But I insisted, and I ended up getting maximum score in higher level economics just because it's like I love it. It's intuitive for me, right? Like there's some things you
Mm-hmm.
just love, and like you play hockey, you're doing it second nature, right? Anyways,
Yes.
um, and then I went on to study like a 3 year bachelor, 2 years master's in university, all economics. And so I was living in Dubai at the time. There goes the doorbell. It's not the actual doorbell, but reminds me of back in the YouTube days, but we'll talk about that. So I had some time on my hand at a time where I lived in Dubai, and as an economist and as I think a person that wants, good for humanity, like I think all Bitcoiners do. I just I was I was pondering how come that back in the 60s people were doing great, families were doing great. We have in Denmark it's called the happy 60s, right? And I'm sure
Mm.
I think it was the same in US. You had one income, even blue collar, one income blue collar meant you had a home, you had a car, if not two, you had the mother, the wife, usually taking care of the kids, the family, and it was good times. So what my sort of conundrum was all right, it was really good. We have GDP growth per capita every year, but now we're doing really bad. Like, how is that possible? Why has the middle class been wiped out? Why do we have more and more poverty? So that was, for me, it was a you can say academical like challenge. I didn't understand it, and
Hey, really quick, I want to annoy the hell out of you with a quick little break to just remind you that we have to share the signal within the noise because the algorithms hate truth. The algorithm hates truth. So we have to do all that we can to spread the signal. The faster we do that, the quicker change comes to the world. We need to be the change we seek to be. What are we doing? What am I doing? What are you doing to build a future? Also, if you want a written version of a lot of what we do here, please go to the description and find the link to our blog, our Substack, as well as you will see many links to either the work or the companies, the places you can find all the playable characters here that we talk to and how you can connect with them. So now back to the show. Thank you.
And so I started like researching on it, like going on YouTube and and then I came across a lot of the gold box, explaining that gold was sound money. This is why it was good money. The Fed is just a scam, printing money, and like just even people like Goldbucks that understand money explaining how the Fed and money in modern society, fiat currency works. It was hard for me to understand, and I love money since I was like 4 years old, right? For the sake of
Mm-hmm.
freedom, and then after so I'm like, okay, Rothschild, that first central bank in Europe, created by Rothschild in I think it was France, um, and or Austria, or I can't remember. But so I'm watching a lot about this and starting to understand the Fed, the central banks is the problem. Fiat currency is the problem. Gold, was better. And I come across a video which is 5.5 minutes long or something. And it's this guy saying that, the same things, fiat currency is terrible. And that's why we have gold and Bitcoin. It's better money. And then I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Because in 2011, the summer of 2011, I actually think it was the 4th of July, I read an article in the Danish newspaper. And the reason I know it was in July 2011 was because I got so curious about when I read that. I went back in the archives and found that article. I was like, when was I stupid
Wow.
enough to reject it the first time, right? Could have bought Bitcoin at $2, you know? Anyways, so so because I came at it with like, we got a problem, we got a real problem here in society. When the solution was presented to me, it clicked immediately. Like it was like within, I don't know, 10, 20 seconds, I had heard about Bitcoin before, but rejected it. I thought it was like World of Warcraft, like just
Mm-hmm.
computer game money, right? Um, and so immediately I went down the rabbit hole, and I was alone in the household at this period of time for months, and I I started consuming YouTube, reading on Wikipedia, looking up what is money in Wikipedia. It's something that can store value. Well, clearly fiat currency is not money because it does not. So I remember next day, I had a company in Dubai Media City. Next day, and this is like, I don't know, 14 hours after I started just watching videos like nonstop on Bitcoin.
Wow.
I come into the office in the morning, like, guys, Bitcoin, it's Bitcoin. You gotta buy Bitcoin. It's like, this is amazing. And I just start telling everyone, my employees, about Bitcoin. And I fortunately didn't have time money at the time, so it was later before I got in. Like financial situation was a little bit tough, but I understood by that time, and I just started. I was consuming Bitcoin content like minimum 8 hours a day in that period because I had only myself and my job to worry about. Yeah, so that's my story. Yeah, if that answers your question.
What time period is that? 2011 was the first time you really heard of it, and then was it a couple years later, 5, 6, 7 years later? Like what was that progression there timeline wise?
So it was in 2016, but as I said, I didn't have money, unfortunately, at the time. I was under, for different reasons, some financial pressure there. Yeah, that was, I'm pretty sure it was October 4, 2016. For me, that's like, 4, 6, 8. And by the way, the next video right after that was the first 5.5 minute video was an Andreas Antonopoulos video, which was recorded September 2016, where the one where there's a blue sort of background behind him, and it's like, I think it's 37 or minutes long or something like that. And that was the most amazing orange pilling video. Like, I was already on board after that first one. And next video up on YouTube is the Andreas Antonopoulos. I listened to that. That's it. Game over. So yeah. So that's the timeline.
And it's so crazy because that's like similar to my journey as well, just being very political in the 2000s and then seeing the red and blue come together as a uniparty in 2009 and then just realizing, oh wow, the money is broken, these guys are on the same team, and then getting into gold and silver in the early 2010s, and then same thing, like a lot of people, I think, in this generation, I guess right now, or whatever you want to call it, is they came in 2016, 17, 18. Like I started buying in 2018. I waited till it went back down. As an investor, I was like, okay, like it's spiking up, like it's crazy, it's mania. Like I'm just gonna wait till it comes back down because this is crazy. It can't go vertical forever.
Smart,
and
very smart.
Yeah. And so I waited till 2018, but I didn't get into the community until really like a year and a half ago. Actually, like I was buying Bitcoin, but I didn't find the community. So I want to segue into like where the next couple of years, like you and Pubby, within, 2-3 years, you're making Bitcoin content. Like, what does this transition look like? Because I wasn't really, I didn't leave my old world of real estate and all that until, I don't know, a year and a half ago, until early 2022, I guess. And then found Bitcoin. Twitter, was never even on Twitter. I was on Instagram and all the other socials to build my other business. And then as soon as I was like 2020 a hit, basically I was like, oh, this is it. A couple years later, 2020 hits for me. But then I had this other business. I was like, how do I get out of this? It took me a year or two to finally like kind of unwind that and then get into fully to the Bitcoin world. What did that transition look like for you from 2016, 2017 up to 2020 until you and Pubby are making content?
Yeah, sure. So from I was orange pill an early night in October 2016. I was consuming 8-10 hours a day of content. Being at my own. Yeah. Anyways, and some of that content from the early days was World Crypto Network and Vortex, and Tone Vase. I remember he had just started his YouTube channel. And I know World Crypto Network, it has crypto in it. And it's funny, but that's what it was. And
crypto was Bitcoin at the time. Like,
it was.
It was
exactly. Yeah. And they were all anti shitcoins. Mm-hmm. But there was still like today, you wouldn't want to call anything like put crypto in the name, right? But it was a different time.
Different time. Yeah.
Different time. And so I'm lucky to bump into, to hear Vortex and Tone Vase from my early get-go, being anti-shitcoins. And I remember Tone Vase and Vortex, when they were doing YouTube videos, they would also, check our Twitter down below. And I was just a sponge for Bitcoin understanding, knowledge, everything. So yeah, I'm off to Twitter. I opened an account on Twitter in 2009, I think September, whatever. But I never understood Twitter. Twitter makes no sense until you have a tiny, very laser focused, specific area of interest. Then X, as it's called today, makes the world of sense. That's where you find the highest quality of cutting edge wisdom, frankly, and fun.
Yeah, well said.
I mean, and fun.
Yeah.
So because of that, I started, so I was paying attention and listening to all these guys and reading tweets, and then I started, doing starting tweeting myself about Bitcoin from the spring of 2017. Then I was sitting in the metro in Dubai and listening to Tone Vase shows. I was listening to all of them, I think pretty much back then. And then you get busy later on, in your journey, and you realize that, well, no one can make me more degenerate because I don't have any fiat left to allocate, and no one can make me more bullish, and kind of reduces a little bit your consumption of Bitcoin content. But and then he was saying he's going to LA, if anyone could recommend any place. So I immediately reach out to Tone and say, hey, I live in LA. I'll have an extra available bedroom at the time. Come stay with me. So Tone Vase came and stayed with me in June 2017, and I drove him around a little bit where he needed to go. I went to pick him up at some kind of crypto conference in downtown LA. Which, by the way, was my first and only interaction with Skid Row, which is a bit of a mind blow. I thought it was in the 90s. I had a cassette with a band, Skid Row. I thought that was the name of a band. I didn't know there was an actual Skid Row. That's mind blowing, and just another product of central banking. So I'm at this crypto conference, and I'm coming in thinking, all right, it's Bitcoin and everything else is shitcoins, right? But I'm talking to people, and the majority of the people there are like, yeah, Ethereum, World Computer, and then Litecoin, silver to Bitcoin and gold. I'm like, guys, are you retarded? Not that, I didn't say that obviously, but I was just dumbfounded by it's so obvious, guys. Why are you looking at anything else? Can't you see it's scams? And this was June 21, I think, 2017. So I decided I gotta educate people, because that message is clearly not getting it through to enough people. So I decided to start a meetup, and my meetup was on the evening of the B Trash fork away from Bitcoin.
No way.
Jihan Wu and Roger. That was my first meetup. Was that day, that evening. Wow. And then I just rolled from there. And then I started doing my own YouTube videos as well. So on my channel, you can go back and find a different Anders trying to educate people about Bitcoin. So during that half year up until the top of the bull run in 17, it's a combination of putting a lot of time into preparing presentations to give to people, to teach as much as possible, and combined it with having in speakers like Tone Vase was in a couple of times, Jimmy Song, Vortex, Adam Meister, and one of my favorites, Giacomo Succo and Mir from Italy. And this was very early on in my meetup. I remember Mir tweeting out "Hey, we're going to travel we're going on holiday to California. If anybody know of any like meet up or want to meet up as Bitcoiners. And I immediately responded like, hey, would you guys like to come to my meetup? And it was just mind-blowing. These two amazingly sympathetic, nice people, incredibly smart, like super nice, smart, everything, wanted to come and spend an evening at my meetup with like 8 people in the audience. And they didn't arrive and then said, all right, there's hardly anyone here. Let's do 45 minutes. Like Giacomo spilled golden nuggets in front of this group of people for 3 hours. For 3 hours,
Jeez.
Giacomo Suku gave an intimate concert, if you will, right? It was amazing. And then afterwards, Mir, she did an hour as well. Like they gave us their entire evening. And by the way, that was the same night that they found out that Mia was pregnant with their first child. So
Wow.
special occasion, yeah. So grateful for that. So and by the way, that meetup exploded because with the bull run, number go up technology, people like start looking. Like by the end of 17, so the building I was in, I worked at a WeWork, had it was an old MGM building, so they had this 2 cinemas with like when I did my presentations and played music and stuff, you know, I like to play music. I had the whole cinema screen. I had the whole cinema screen.
Way.
I was standing down there in front of that, and then you know people had actual comfortable cinema chairs. So it was like really like a nice experience, super comfortable. I remember Jimmy Song noting that he came to the meetup, and then it's like people just sitting in these giant leather chairs and chilling in the cinema. He thought that was pretty cool. So did I. And I remember at the end of 17, near the top of the bull run, so I started selling tickets because I had to pay to rent that cinema. And value for value, man. I don't see any problem with that. I'm not a communist, I'm a capitalist with capital letters all the way through, and then bold and highlighted and underlined. Free market, baby. So at the end of the bull market, I had people, because the cinema was full, so I had people paying money to stand up at the end and behind the last rows, and I'm like, it's game over. Like Bitcoin to the moon. Like it's clearly happening. Everyone's here.
Wow.
Everyone's interested. So
that's wild.
That was a crazy. It was a great time, and all like people coming up and like, Anders, thank you for organizing this. And I'm like, well, duh. I mean, I'm having a good time, of course. So what happened next? Then my private life, my personal life became a giant shitstorm. It was very tumultuous. I had a lot I had to deal with, and so I didn't really have time that much. I really didn't. I didn't have the resources. And by the way, people weren't really interested anymore as we came into 18 and the prices started falling. So I stopped the meetup because I just didn't have the bandwidth. I got a job at Bitcoin IRA in 2019. I think around October they hired me, and everyone's thinking like, all right, this is the end of the bear market. Price of Bitcoin is now 6,000. It was flat like for 2 months. I get hired like a few weeks before the end of that 6,000, and Bitcoin goes off a cliff. Like in 2 weeks, it goes to 3,120, and all of a sudden they're not selling product. Nobody wants to invest in Bitcoin or crypto when everyone's afraid, right? That's why the price is low. Everyone's afraid. No one's buying. So like I was doing business development like on a long-term actual financial advisor targeted white label product for them. So that had a long runway to bring in actual money. So I was part of the like 40% of staff that was cut. First time ever I got fired. Like during my whole career, I think I applied for like one
That's
job,
good.
and the rest it was like no, two maybe, and then I was headhunted. Like I'm,
Mm,
I like how can I get fired, right? But it's
right.
Bitcoin. It's Bitcoin. It's the Wild West. So in January 19, I'm pretty sure it was January. It's funny because last night I was looking through Adam Meister's YouTube channel. I'm trying to find this video. I remember sitting in my cubicle at Bitcoin IA on an Adam Meister This Week in Bitcoin show, which she did every Friday, where he had a panel. Puppy was in the audience, which I didn't know. We didn't know each other. This is how we met. So always, we're hugely appreciative of Adam Meister. And, for some weird reason, Puppy agreed with everything I said. He told me. So he reached out on a DM, and this is in the midst of the bear market. We are 1 month away from the bottom, right? We're maybe up from 31 to 4,000, and Bitcoin Twitter back then, forget about it. It was like the bear market we just had. Like there's so many people on Bitcoin Twitter now, like it's happening, right? If you had a tweet back then that got 100 likes, that was like the tweet of the day on Bitcoin Twitter. Like tweet with 100 likes, right? So
Wow.
he reached out and said, "Hey, like, agree with everything you say." And I'm like, somebody wants to talk Bitcoin because no one wanted. So I'm like, bro, give me your phone number. Poppy DMs me his phone number. I call him and say, hey, yo, what's up? Somebody wants to talk Bitcoin. So we just started talking as friends for hours every week, talking about Bitcoin. We're both our almost only people we could talk Bitcoin with, and that just continued developing to a great strong friendship, and then in 2020, where my life starts getting more in order, I told Puppy, look, I really want to restart my YouTube channel that I did back in, and that's youtube.com/Kakat. Oh well, okay, no one's going to be able to to spell that, but so I told him I want to restart it. I used to do the like educational videos in 17 and 18. So I said, why don't we take these conversations that both of us enjoy and both of us like walk away like, oh yeah, what about that? Like and more bullish, right? Um, and and um, so we started Toxic Happy Hour, which was just going live using Restream, and and then we just rolled from there. So that started around August 2020, when around the time that Michael Saylor came out and said, oh, by the way, I put the whatever it was, 400 something million dollars into
Hmm.
Bitcoin on the balance sheet, and yeah, and then so we did that for a year. Then we went to our first conference ever, Bitcoin Miami 2021, and it's funny, Brandon, because that's years ago, right? but but still the price of Bitcoin is at the same level as the very first conference Puppy and I went to, and
That's
it's
wild.
almost 3 years ago, and I'm like, all this time of producing content and we got nowhere. But of course there's the cycle. But so after that, I was traveling during that summer. Spaces came out. Puppy loved Spaces. He started doing Spaces every day, and that kind of like became what we did. But I miss YouTube. We haven't done it for 2 years. I'm so happy to be here. So I'm gonna I want to push my effort. We spoke about this in the first 10 minutes.
Hmm.
So yeah, and please don't share any of that. No, and in fact, now we're teasing people with that. Why don't we find some cuts that are acceptable and put them out as teaser,
A
whatever
little
you want to do.
slice.
Yeah, but let me approve it, brother, please. Right? I don't know where you live, but I'll find out. I got skills from a lifetime, man, from a lifetime. Anyways, yeah, I you know me, Brandon. I talk a lot, so why don't I give you a chance to comment, to say something, or just direct me in a more constructive direction here.
In more constructive, coherent direction. No, this is what you do, man. This is toxic happy hour, is everything. I think that's the YouTube would be a great idea, and then getting back on that and just spreading the message in different mediums. We need 10,000 more people doing YouTubes and blogs and podcasts and just all this stuff. We need to overwhelm the system, as we all know. So I love that. In saying that, what are you thinking for the YouTube channel? I know you kind of touched on some different things, some different avenues to kind of peel back the layers on. What are your thoughts and goals for the YouTube channel going forward?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, to orange pill and help as many people as possible while having fun. That's one thing from Toxic Happy that always worked for me and Puppy. Like I like to have fun, right? You like to have fun.
Storytelling and having fun.
So that's definitely happening. I actually kind of want to go every day, but I'm not a company. So if I'm skiing or if I'm, it's impossible, I can say, sorry, this week, there won't be any content or whatever. Yep. But so I have an idea for the Monday that I've only mentioned for Puppy, Preston Pish, and James Lavish. And Preston, you said you were down, so I'm going to hold you to it, all right? But I think that idea is so good that I don't want to share it until I go live. I don't want anyone to steal it because I'm going to have fun with that. Yeah. And then I already spoke to Puppy, and his schedule kind of only allows him to do YouTube on Tuesdays. I think unless like an arm is twisted and AR-47 to his head or whatever. Are they called that? I don't even know.
AK-47 and AR-15. You're mixing them. You put them together. Yeah.
See, yeah, that's
there. You go.
Always happens when you go live. Well, we're not live, but we're recorded. So I want to do Toxic Tuesdays with Puppy, where we do like we used to do, Puppy. So you're with me, right? So Toxic Happy Hour, Toxic Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And the Monday one also has obviously a play. Then I want to do Wednesday and Thursday. I want to do a Christian Bitcoin podcast. There's several out there. I think, look, Corey said something I think really important in the opening speech of Pacific Bitcoin. So shout out to Corey, to Pacific Bitcoin, the most amazing Bitcoin conference in North America, if not America. Let's bring in Central and South. I don't know what you got down there, but Pacific Bitcoin, I mean, LA, the weather, everything, the vibe, the people is so professional, the content. But he said that, and I can't remember if I gave a shout out to Swan, but shout out to Swan, obviously the company that he founded. And I was lucky to be pulled in as an advisor for even about 7 months, I think, before Swan even existed. Corey pulled me in as an advisor when he had no employees, back when he had guys like Brady Svensson, Citizen Bitcoin, who was doing educational. He was doing educational content. So he played a much bigger role, but I was still in there because on LinkedIn, I think Corey found out I'm the only guy who's both like at the time in North America, an absolute Google Ads search advertising nerd, and a Bitcoin advocate that is, running a meetup and educating people. So that combination of Bitcoin and Google Ads, because he needed someone to run Google Ads, and you've seen what Corey does. He hires Bitcoiners that understands, because that's how you get the best product. And look at the team he has, and the amount of Bitcoin firepower in that company, which is one of the reasons I think it's great. So, but what he said, I do a lot of side stories, and I know you already know me. So, but back to the point, Corey said, we actually need more podcasts, not less. Because I know there's a lot, like it's a little bit of joke, like, oh, there's so many Bitcoin podcasts, we don't need any more. But Corey said something I think really important, and that is, we all have different audiences. If you say something great, Brandon, and I really hope that happens one day, by the way. Like, I really,
I'm
like,
waiting. Let's roll. I'm waiting for myself. I know.
It's a lot of people. Right. Kidding. So we have different audiences. If you say something great, of course I should acknowledge it came from you, but let me also get that out there. The more podcasts we have with different people, different personalities, means different audiences. Let's get the goal from everyone.
Yes.
And Orange Pill, our little audience. So that a little bit like, yeah, let's do more podcasts. And that's why it's awesome to see you starting as well, Brandon. So what I want to do Wednesday and Thursday, Friday is going to be Free Friday, Toxic Tuesday, Monday yet to be announced. But Wednesday and Thursday, I have taken a spiritual and Christian journey myself over the last couple of years, which meant close to 2 years ago, I became spiritual because I had seen spirits at work. I believe I've looked a demon in the eyes. I can't remember if I told you my story. That's personal. I don't want to go into it here, but I've seen evil. I've seen evil out to get me. Every time I was saved, like 4 times, I probably should have died, but I didn't. I'm here, And then I had a conversation with Ulrich, a friend of mine. We were up in Mammoth skiing. We were coming back. We're having a conversation in the car, and I had shared my experiences with Ulrich before, but now we had 5 hours on the road together, and I wanted to I knew he was a Christian, and what opened my mind to Christianity in the first place is being in the Bitcoin community now for some years and seeing that there's so many Christian people in Bitcoin. Okay, so, and I was thinking back then, guys, you're really smart, you're really rational. Like, how come so many of you are Christians? Like, to me, it didn't really make sense because I wasn't a Christian, right? But then I had this conversation with Ulrich. Some of the things he said resonate with me. So I went from being spiritual and understanding and believing there's evil spirits. There's good spirits. Someone saved me again and again and again. And probably for a reason, when you're saved, there's also a calling. And Derek Prince is a huge influence of mine. He's passed away, pastor that dedicated his life to understanding and pastoring the scripture. So it kind of dawns on me, and this is end of March last year. Everything in the Bible, it's explaining what I have experienced. And so I went on this whole journey. JD gave me my first Bible back in April, May. And Ghost of Mel BDC. Wow. So again, my life was in turmoil. Like, it was really like the darkest hour. It was really, really scary. At the end of around the end of September this year. And Mel BDC is a really good friend of mine. She's French, she lives in London. She's also a strong Christian. And things she resonated with me. She started going to church, and it felt good. I'm like, that's what I need to do. I need to start going to. I need to get closer to God because I need Him in my life. I was desperate. I need help. And best thing, obviously, I ever did. I'm so much just at this point in time leaning forward into Christianity, Jesus, our Father, the Holy Spirit, trying to understand, and everything changed after that. My problem is pretty much gone, and I can only point to one thing: is I've been leaning forward into my faith and understanding, and trying to connect with Jesus, the Holy Spirit, which is really important to understand the Holy Spirit, by the way. So, typical me, long story. I do like to talk. I do know that, but hey, you invited me on, so tough luck. So because I've been saved, you know, and I don't know if is it mirror wise or can you read it?
Yeah, you can read it. I was
All
wondering
right.
what was behind you. I was going to ask you in a little bit. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Right. Yeah, because you know what? Jesus is not only what holds you up, right? He's your foundation. But if you run with Jesus, look how much fun you're gonna have. That's where I'm at. The party's over
It's
here,
true.
guys. The party's over here. Shout out to Elizabeth for putting that um, um, line in my mind. But so I feel I've been saved, and if you've been saved, you have a calling. So I'm like, okay, you saved my life 4 times, like for sure. Right now, every day is a bonus. I shouldn't even be here, like the way I look at it, but you know, thank you. I'm here. Now my life is on the altar of Jesus. Like, what will you have me do? I'm like, everything is bonus anyway, Brandon, right? The way I look at it. So what do you want me to do? So I've been seeking my calling. Of a couple of things has happened. Derek Prince talks about your calling is when you feel like a duck in water, because he explained why he's like when he preaches the Bible or when he did, he's like a duck in water, and boy is he like a duck in water. He's the most amazing pastor or sermon. I don't know if you've ever listened to him, but and I'm asking myself, so where am I a duck in water? Well, clearly Bitcoin. You know, I used to be an introvert, and you said you were early on. I can't remember if this was part. Yeah, and you know what? If you're struggling in your life, and I did for a decade, life was tough. When life is tough, I can speak for myself. I didn't like going out to like big gatherings because like what if I don't have someone to talk with, or like, you know, just like a little bit, you know,
How am
and
I
if
going to
people,
connect? Yeah.
yeah, like I
Yeah.
could just I'm like I might just end up standing in the corner by myself, you know, like that's not fun, you know. I want to be home, you know, with a friend or something. But boy, has that changed. I think people that know me in the Bitcoin community don't see that, didn't see that
No.
coming. Or but so definitely become an extrovert, which really is, I think, the person I was before I got into a lot of you know,
Makes sense.
challenges. The happy, I kind of became who I was before this tough period. Happy, you know,
Wow.
just wanting to make people laugh, and I want to make people have a good time around me. You know, that's like my driving. I want people to be happy. I love everybody. You know, forgive your sinners. Like even the haters, I'm like, I feel sorry for you, man. You know. All right,
Well
we're off on a
said.
tangent here. I gotta wheel back to your question that you asked 12 minutes ago about the YouTube. So I believe my call, and I saw a sign in my church. I'll tell you all about it next time we're together. I believe I had a sign, and yeah, my calling clearly is with Bitcoin, educating about Bitcoin, and and um and by that way, really helping the good. two
Mm-hmm.
people had Two people again had an influence on me in my direction here, me getting to where I am now. Larry Lepard, my favorite Bitcoiner. I love you, Larry, like for so many reasons. He said earlier this year that Bitcoin is, you know, is the sword being driven into the heart of evil. Yes, Mel BDC goes to Mel BDC, said that she believed Bitcoin could be messianic, you know, biblical, means divine. And to me, it's just like, obviously, Bitcoin is the sword of God being driven into the heart of evil. So big shout out to those two wonderful people. Um, and I think that's my mission. And that's why I want to further that. Fiat currency is so anti-Christian. It breaks two commandments like right out of the bat. Thou shalt not steal. That's the built-in policy. You know, thou shalt not bear false witness. That's what they do. when they tell you it's good, when they tell you we need to have inflation, that's like historical evidence says that inflation is bad, but they own mass media. So the narrative is that 99% believe that, oh no, it's good. Bro, we got to print money. Like, give me $1,500 check while the companies get 40,000 like per person. Like people got ripped off always during money printing. So I believe what I gotta do to best help Jesus and the world and humanity is orange pill. I got my eyes on these 2.3 billion Christians that I believe that with scriptural arguments can be made to believe and understand that this is our answer, that Bitcoin is good money, I would say God's money, and that fiat currency is what is funding the satanic cult of the central banking. And I won't use further words because we're here on a recorded stream. But yeah. Oh, but I don't care. I'm not afraid.
Well, yeah. I want this to reach some people though, because its message is important. So I don't want it to get taken out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wanted to call them like profanic words or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, like they're a satanic cult known for, and I want anyone out there has like proofs, or there's so many stories of child sacrifice, human trafficking, blackmailing people in power with different, drugs, underage sex, all of this. So they gotta do, the politicians gotta do, the people in power gotta do what the central bankers want. And I want to come at that. And so that is going to be my Wednesday, Thursday YouTube. And I want to engage the Christian community.
That's gonna be incredible.
Around the world. And I want you on it because Brandon, you're a good Christian.
I could spend hours, man. I could spend hours with you talking about that stuff. That's, man. Yeah. So the reason I was late to starting this with you today, I was actually giving there was a boys retreat, sophomore, 10th grade or grade 10, if you're Canadian, retreat, Christian, Catholic boys retreat at the school, where my kids go. And so one of the priests there had asked me to come, as I was spent time with him a couple weeks ago, a few hours. And I was talking about my story of leaving athletics and just not feeling, just felt like I didn't belong. I wasn't of that world, and just didn't jive or vibe with the people in that world. And so he wanted me to come talk to the boys and just about being a man of prayer, a man of faith, a man of God, instead of a man of glamour and fame. And because that's a lot of what my story was. So that's why I was late, because I was, I ended up talking a lot longer to some of them, and they were asking questions and some, so that's why I was actually, ironically, that's why it's funny that you and I are talking about this now, because I didn't think we were going to talk about this, but here we are. So anyway.
God has a plan.
God has a plan. Yeah, it's wild. And one of the guys I met there was going through his crazy time, and like we ended up connecting, and I got, he grabbed my numbers because he's like, your talk just like was, I needed it, and like I need to talk to you. And I was just like, it's always like I went to like talk to a bunch of 15-year-old boys, but I ended up like, there's a 36-year-old guy that needs to talk. So like that's probably why I was there, not for the 15-year-old boy. Really wild, just absolutely wild to like think about it. Anyway, so to this point though, is you were saying something about, I couldn't agree more. I think there's so many parallels. Like Thank God for Bitcoin is one of the most genius books I've read in a long time. And it hits so many of the points. Like I've started writing a book a couple years ago with a bunch of stuff. And like I read Thank God for Bitcoin. I was like, oh, like they like wrote like 90% of the things I was thinking. Like I don't even need to do it now. Like wild. One of the things though, I was thinking though, I was just talking about this earlier today, was Jesus, when he says, give to God what is God and give to Caesar what is Caesar's. And like, even at that time, he knew right there, obviously he knows all, but he knew that the money was corrupted. Like they were inflating away, even gold and silver was being melted down, debased, they were doing ridiculous things with that. So there's so many different variations of the readings that you can interpret it, obviously, but that was one of those right there. Like literally he knew, like it was inflationary, like it was inflation, like you're dealing with evil, like give to God what's God's, give to Caesar what is Caesar's. And there's other meanings of that too, but one of them was a literal meaning of like good luck. Like you're gonna be screwed for a long time, guys. Like you're not gonna win this battle for a long, long time. For a couple thousand years, it's gonna be like this. So anyway, and that's where we are now, coming to Bitcoin, this story. So anyway, I can't wait for that, what you have kind of planned, just the whole week, but also like the Wednesday, Thursday. This is gonna be really cool, dude.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm getting myself into doing five days of YouTube, but hey, Simply Bitcoin can do it. They
Yeah.
can do it. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be anything crazy. I mean, just like go, just hit record and go. And I think we all get caught up in doing that. It's just like hit record and go. It's more important to have it out there and overwhelm the system than it is to have some like we need the Simplies. We need some stuff like that that's recorded. The hard money shows that Natalie does, and the Simply Bitcoins, and all these other shows that are recorded like that. But we have to have so much of it that like doing what we're doing here, or your show, or like Nolan Bowerley has his show he does every morning at 8 a.m. Like there's so many people that are just go hit record and just go live, or record it and put it up. Have to need 10,000 times as many people doing that.
Amen. And yeah, you're definitely coming on my Christian Bitcoin podcast for sure.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love
yeah,
it. I'm jacked up
absolutely.
about that.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I got
brother.
yeah, of course. Um, so and so that first 10 minutes, the infamous first 10 minutes where I thought we were still in the green room and you recorded everything, where I spoke very candidly, and that's why I'm like, I can't I don't have a good feeling about this. I can't remember every word, but is there something back then you remember that was that I still kind of need to touch upon to get
Yeah,
different.
I know. We've got another, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. A couple things that I wanted to kind of touch on. We can touch on quickly, a couple minutes each thing is like conferences, Vegas, maybe what your thoughts were there. Obviously, Tone, you obviously have a great connection with Tone, Mel, different stuff like that. And then Toxic Happy Hour, just we kind of talked about that a little bit, just plug that quick.
Yeah,
But then the Pleb
yep.
party, that was kind of the last thing, like
Oh,
what you guys are thinking of, going forward there. So
what am I doing here talking for an hour, not even shilling my own product? What am I
hey,
doing?
come on, you're a humble man. You're a humble man. That's why.
Yeah, no,
True Bitcoiner.
well, so all right, we'll talk about the party in a minute. But all right, so with Toxic Happier, yeah, I love that first year we did on YouTube. It was amazing. We had such a good time, Puppy and I, and with our guests, and like the big names that committed when we had like 300 400 followers or subscribers on YouTube, like Jeff Booth, you legend. I mean, I love, who don't, I mean, everybody loves
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Booth, right? The kindest, smartest person in Bitcoin. And then it became Spaces, and yeah, sometimes I like 2 hours of Spaces every day is sometimes I do feel like I'm not getting everything like I want to communicate out. Like sometimes you're
Mm-hmm.
holding the microphone a lot.
Yep.
For other people that have great that have great things to say, and sometimes yes, the conversations are amazing. Like you can have a space that's like, yeah, that's good, and sometimes you're like, wow, how lucky are we that these people came in. So it's a so I kind of think, if I can do like at least hang in there with Puppy the first hour on Toxic Happy Hour, and because that's the time it can be difficult if you do a space and there's not, you can't, if to get the conversation off the ground, and all Puppy needs is me in there for 15-20 minutes. I can't be quiet, so I'll fill up the empty space, no problem, right? So and it's fun. Like I play music in the spaces, that's fun. But I want to go back on YouTube, I think. And I think that will help me reach an audience, especially the Christian community that I really want to activate. And I'm like an active member of my church, to go, get a wider global reach and get that message out there, because I need to do my part in orange pilling 2.3 billion Christians. If we can get them aboard, it's game over. We're gonna do
Yep.
it. And you're gonna help me, Brandon.
100%. I'm
Yeah.
in.
So that's one. Love it. We're gonna have so much fun doing it.
Yep.
Oh, conferences. Unconfiscatable. I don't know what I've been doing not going there. It's in Vegas. I'm in LA. It's a four, you know, it's a 4 hour drive, 4.5 hour drive, or a short flight. Um, and that was like, it's not a big conference. It was a 400 or something, 450, but the quality is amazing of the people. Like,
Mhm.
the people speaking, and I can start mentioning names like Luke Dash Jr. I think it's Bitcoin Mechanic, Giacomo Succo. Like, but then again, I forget like so many others, right? Like, amazing speakers there, high quality. But I never thought about that. The fact that it's in Vegas means like it puts an angle on it that actually can be a lot of fun. And boy did I have fun, and boy did you have fun. Me definitely finding out you're a good Christian boy, which is awesome. Yeah, so love unconfiscatable. I told Tone I definitely, and Mel, I that's on my calendar from now on. I definitely want to be there. And I don't know if you wanted me to talk about conferences in general, or
Yeah, I mean, even like what, I think community is such a big thing, so yeah, I'd love for you to touch on just conferences in general. Not your
okay.
favorite conference, but you can maybe
Yeah,
how
yeah, yeah.
they, just a minute on how they kind of differ in your opinion, and kind of maybe the pros and cons of them. But I think community is huge, and meeting the
That's
people, like a lot of your story obviously is around community, the people that you've met, which is massive.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing with conferences. You meet, like, in normie world, we're the crazies, right? When you go to a conference, you meet the people that have aligned values, and you're on this common mission to save humanity from this evil enslavement from these satanic Fs in the central bank, the World Economic Forum, International Bank of uh, the Bank of International Settlement,
Yep.
International Monetary Fund, politician in general, corrupted by these guys. Um, so that's amazing. Like, they're my first one in Miami, where I had been doing YouTube with Puppy for a year. We never met, right? And then we meet for the first time, and like it's magic. We have the best time. So it's about getting together with other Bitcoiners, literally. And I wrote that, I tweeted that out back, so at Pacific Bitcoin, where I threw the first pleb party that I organized. The first two ones was in the name of the of Toxic Happy Hour for different reasons. Puppy's really busy with his work. I'm gonna roll with that. I mean, I've been doing all the organizing anyway. I love doing it, but that Pacific Bitcoin in 2022 sincerely was some of the absolute best days of my life. It
Mhm.
really was. First, I threw that party, the first pleb party I organized, which I got so much positive feedback. I had an amazing time, and my feeling was that's what people were telling me. They had an amazing time around me. Were you there?
Yes. Yes, I don't know if we met at the party though. I don't think. I met JD
I
there at the party, and I'm trying to think, Harry Gray, Natalie.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, like, it was like a half dozen people, and we just kind of like ended up hanging out, and that was about it. I don't remember much else.
No,
It's kind
and
of
see,
like
actually,
slotted in there.
you're actually touching on something, because this is key for me in these pleb parties, is bringing in amazing people like yourself. Well, all Bitcoiners really,
Yeah.
mostly are, but
Yep.
bringing in those people that people admire on many levels for the high quality content of thinking they put out there. Jeff Booth, Larry Lepard, Greg Foss, Mark Muss, Natalie Brunell, Crypto Couple, Alan Walker. And I don't even remember all of them. Like, there's so many of like the well-known people came, and that was something that we could do because having done YouTube for that long, we had a lot of them on our we're like become friends with
Hmm.
many of these guys, right? So it's like, hey,
Yep.
like, if we are throwing a pleb party over here, do you want to come? And Larry Depart
Hmm.
was the reason. I don't want to go like make take too much time on that. But Larry Lepard was the reason that it kind of kicked in, because he was, when I asked him if he wanted to go, he was so enthusiastic that about hanging out with the plebs. That made me put down my credit card of $10,000, securing the bar spent for us to make it an exclusive. And then learned a lot from that. Biggest positive feedback I got was that after the conference, and I not at all saw that coming, but it made me so happy. After the conference, so many people came up to me and told me, like, Anders, like, I'm really happy you threw that Pleb party and that I was there, because it made the conference itself better for me. Because all of a sudden now, when I walk into the conference, I know all these people. I spoke with them, I hung out with them, I had a beer with them. And I'm like, wow, yeah, I didn't see that coming, but wow, thank you, that's awesome. But based on my experience from that, and this all happened by coincidence, really. I just wanted to get people together for a Pleb party. So when Corey tweeted out around March 22 that, hey, we're going to do a conference, a Bitcoin conference in LA. We don't know where, we don't know when. I believe it was like within 24, 48 hours, I tweeted out, yeah, I'm going to do the Pleb party for that. Let's go. So I was using my and I'm like, I don't know where and I don't know when, because Corey doesn't. So I don't know either, but we're going to do it. And so I used my meetup group, meetup.com from back then, which had 525, I think, members from back in the days in 17, 18. And that during Pacific Bitcoin, or Op2, spiraled up to more than 900 people because they wanted to attend the Pleb party. I just had the best time being able to host that and getting like the love back from people appreciating that I did that. I like to have a good time. I'm social. I have become extrovert again. So, and then building on those experiences, I organized the Pleb party in Miami, where even Sailor showed up. Okay. We have a great 2-minute video from that. It's on my YouTube channel. But maybe we can put some of these things in your professional. You can put some of that stuff down in the notes, right? Link to the video, link to the Eventbrite page, if you please will. So perfect. I make it always an offer people can't refuse, and that's how I get ticket sales momentum going, which is going really, really well. There's gonna be, it's like both of those parties, and I want to hear your words, I think have been pretty freaking amazing. Nashville, I'm going even bigger. It's 12 hours, right? It's open bar, so every Pleb becomes VIP. Because if you go to the VIP party, guess what? You rock up to the bar and say, I want a drink. You get a drink. You don't get your wallet out. So it's going to be the same experience. Of course, I lost money on the first one, or we did. So you have to buy a ticket. But once you're there, once you're in, you got the VIP experience with open bar for 12 hours, food for 12 hours. And I'm going to make it magical. I have a lot of ideas, and I'm going to Nashville soon to scope venues. But Brandon, like, you tell me honestly, or tell your audience, like, how was the 2 parties you attended?
So amazing. Party before the party. That's if you ever needed a new name for it. That was we always had like my wife's family is huge, and they would always have the party, before the wedding. The event's awesome though. The Pleb party, it's like you said, I don't think I've ever given you that feedback, but that is my feedback as well. Actually, it's what generally everyone else has said, which is it's nice because you get familiar, you get to meet a bunch of people you have never met before, kind of like an icebreaker especially for people that are new, which is going to happen every year. We're gonna have new people, or newer people coming in each year, each epoch. And so people coming in, getting familiar with people before the conference is a game changer, absolute game changer. So it just makes the conference that much more enjoyable and that much more fun. And again, like we were saying earlier, community is the number one reason. I don't think, you and I were talking about this, I think the other day when we were in Vegas. I mean, the last few conferences, I think I've watched like 3 speakers combined in the last 3 conferences total. I mean, you can see a lot of content on YouTube. You can come here and watch Anders and Brandon talk. You can go watch Preston and Larry and Greg Foss and all these guys go talk all day long on YouTube. Go watch the things recorded later or whatever. But the community, you don't get that anywhere but at the conference, at the pleb parties, stuff like that. That's where the real connections are made. And I think that's what's the most important thing. So anything to kind of prolong that is why we're there. So it's a must, really. That's why we go, right? So yeah, it's great work by you guys, for sure.
And thank you. And you're hereby invited, Brandon. You'll be on the guest list.
Man.
So keep talking nice. Like I had to hear if you were positive there, but you are. So you're
Hey,
no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Unknowingly on the spot. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the point I think I tried to make, or wanted to make before the internet started messing up, was because we're friends with all these amazing people, and they come, it gives the normal pleb the opportunity to have a beer with Larry Lepert or Jeff Booth, and that you don't do at a conference because there's 10,000 people or 1,500 or whatever they have at Pacific Bitcoin. So it is I think that's part of it. I spoke a lot to Elizabeth in Vegas, and she's also been at both parties. And she said she was standing in the line for the bar, and she turns around and Sailor's there, and she gets to talk to Sailor, the biggest name in Bitcoin. Oh, that was the point I wanted to make. Sometimes going down all the
tangents. You've done incredible so
tangents.
far. I don't know how you loop it back around beautifully. You're very skilled at that. Let's just say that. Beautiful.
Comes from the experience of talking a lot. My grandfather on my mom's side, to me, was an absolute legend. And one of the things about my grandfather, like everyone's like, man, he talks a lot. Like he has all these stories. And Brandon, you know where I'm going with this, because like I see so many things about my grandfather and myself. It's the way I'm built, I'm sorry. But I'm having fun. What can I say? And by the way, one of the reasons I'm going 12-hour open bars, I didn't know this. I realized this when I went home for my grandmother was dying of cancer. And I met someone that was friend of my grandfather from like way back in the days. And I wanted to hear more about, well, what was he like back then? The side of him that I didn't see at family parties. And he was apparently an epic party thrower. Him and 2 buddies were throwing the best 12-hour party. Like they were known to party for 12 hours.
Wow. Wow, if you had to. Wow. Anders, okay, so in wrapping kind of all this, what are your thoughts of Bitcoin trading cards?
I absolutely got carried away at Pacific Bitcoin. I think like most people, I'm like shooting myself in the foot or killing myself for not going up and paying attention. Pacific Bitcoin launch 2022. Those cards are so rare now and so valuable, and they were like handing them out. I'm like, no. But let me tell you real quick, I got to get this. I'm gonna do an unwrapping, a tear, or like whatever it's called, on these two. A break. Nice. On these two. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. By the way, one of them I got from you. I know you're thinking like, oh, these are the free ones, right? Let me tell you something, Brandon. The most valuable trading card ever to exist. There's 3 of them. None of them have been found yet, and they're in these packs. There's 100,000 of these packs, but there's 3 cards. A lot have already been opened by Brandon. A lot of volunteers looking for them. They haven't found them. I'm going to do a tear on these 2. Do you know what I'm talking about? And the only reason I'm saying is because
the Pacific Bitcoin packs. Those are the Genesis packs. No.
I know these are free, right? You guys.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, the ones with like the error, the special cards. Yeah.
What are the most valuable coins or stamps you've ever heard of? The ones with errors. There's
That's
three
right.
cards
Yeah, you're right.
with errors. They're in these bad boys. They already opened the lot. They haven't found them. So I got, let's say 2 out of 50,000.
That's a secret rabbit hole right there. Yeah.
Except there's 3. So I got like 1 out of 15,000 maybe of finding what could be worth 2 Bitcoin. I'm not joking. I'm very excited. So Aladdin, look, I'm sorry for mentioning it because now people, and you don't want to, but you told it publicly at Unconfiscatable. Okay, that was enough. I'm excited. I'm excited about it, and I want them to come to the party because I want to make like a really, really good experience.
Do something
cool.
So
I want to give Aladdin, but it's got to be fun. We got to do something dome. I want to give him exposure there at the Pleb party because I want to in Nashville, July 25, because I need the party to be. I try to curate the best possible experience. Okay, that was about 5 minutes of the 30 seconds. So next
maybe it'll be who knows, maybe Satoshi and Mother Satoshi will be DJing at the DJ booth there or something like that. Who knows? I don't know. We'll think of something. We'll think of something fun. Thank you so much, brother, for coming out. Where can people find you? I know we're going to link to like the Pleb party, Toxic Happy Hour, some stuff like that, your YouTube, but where can people find you?
They can find me on Twitter, on X, at Anders _ ANDERS_. Actually, like not many people on X know this, but eToro.com is this is the biggest global investing platform for social investing. I should toot my own horn more, but I'm the account on eToro from US that has the most followers. I have more than 600,000 followers there. And what I do there is I share, I mean, you can find all of this knowledge really on Twitter, X, but that's the most serious side of Anders. So I do like a minimum 1 monthly, like more like analytical post. And all I do is I stack Bitcoin, and I'm the only popular investor in US that has been top 2 for 3.5 years consecutively. Right now, I have 1,500 people having money following my portfolio. What does my portfolio look like, Brandon? 100% Bitcoin. That's it. That's it.
Hey, only invest in what you know. That's focused. Anders Jensen. Holy cow, man. We could do this for hours, and we could make it really crazy, but I can't wait to see your stuff as well, man. Your YouTube's going to be awesome. So thank you so much. Thank you for making us all laugh, by the way, just on behalf of everyone, all Bitcoiners. Appreciate you, brother.
That's all I'm trying to do. Thank you so much for having me on, Brandon. You're another one of those just like real friends, true friends you get through Bitcoin when you show up and meet them in real life.
Yes. Thanks.
You're kind.
Appreciate
You're
it,
way too kind.
Same.
All right. Love you, man.
Love you too, brother.
Really grateful and honored to have Anders on today. I really hope you enjoyed the episode with one of the co-hosts of Toxic Happy Hour, and I hope you got something out of this. We really go deep into numerous things, and we got some things up our sleeve I think you're going to enjoy in the future here that we might be doing together. So please, I know there's some locker room humor and things like that. He's one of my favorite people, one of the funniest people in the Bitcoin space, and I get along with him because of that locker room humor. Growing up in a hockey locker room my entire life, Anders has that same type of humor, with guys being guys, quote unquote, locker room humor. I get along with him very well, and truly he gets along with a lot of people because he's such a great person and so empathetic and so funny that people want to be around him, they gravitate to him. So thank you, Anders. Thank you for coming on, for sharing your message, getting it on film here. The more we record our stories, our epiphany stories, the more people are going to have those same epiphanies, those same aha moments, and shift their context and then go start learning about this bright orange future. Please share this out. The algorithm hates truth. Question everything with boldness, even the existence of God himself. Trust but verify. And this is not financial advice. It is freedom advice. We look forward to seeing you on the next one.